Hello, welcome to Loving Growth. This is Josh Morris, and today I'm going to answer a really powerful question that I got from a friend yesterday. We actually had a conversation about this, and the question is, why do humans self-sabotage? So I thought this was a really cool question, and when my friend asked it, I was like, what's she talking about? But then I thought about it, and I was like, this is something I think about all the time. Because I self-sabotage. All humans self-sabotage, so why do we do it? And I've looked at the psychology before, and it made me respond in this way. So this is exactly how I responded. I said, and I quote, I'll just read it right here from the text. I said, humans self-sabotage to protect the comfort of their ego identities. The pain of self-sabotage is less than the pain of transformation, which requires the removal of your ego and a temporary loss of identity. Instead of changing and transforming, most people self-sabotage in order to stay in their comfort zone. Because to improve yourself is to change, and to change is to let go of the old self. And since we find comfort in our identities and ourselves, we self-sabotage in order to protect it. Our self is our identity, and by self-sabotaging, we stay comfortable and protect our identity. Nothing is harder than changing our identity, right? This is so hard. Changing your habits, changing your identity, it's basically saying, I'm wrong, I'm not good enough, I can't do something, I'm not myself, I'm not who I am, I have to change. So that's a really painful admission. So it's much easier to self-sabotage. It's actually less painful to self-sabotage. And then she actually responded, maybe it's because we're actually afraid of our own power. So that's a huge point as well. Maybe we are afraid of changing and being better. And this is true. This is totally true. I think we have tons of success barriers. We're actually afraid of being better because of what it means about our identity. If we become better and we prove ourselves that we're better, we're basically, again, saying that right now we're crap. Like, we're not good enough, we're bad. Because if we were better, obviously we were worse, right? It's an implication. So this led the conversation onto the concept of arete. Arete is the concept of excellence. It's a Greek word, and it basically means excellence in your behavior. And then she said that, yeah, the gap between what you do and what you the gap between what you know and what you do, that's the problem, right? There's a big gap, there's a disconnect between what people know and what they do. And I said, yeah, that's very true, because the gap of what you do or what you know and what you know, sorry, the gap between what you know what you should do and the behaviors that you're actually doing, that gap is where all the problems exist. If you really want to work out, for example, and you're sitting on your couch lazy, then you're going to have a sense of disconnect there. And that's actually where I think anxiety and depression come from. It comes from this gap. So let's say you want to stand up to your boss, for example, or you feel like you deserve a raise, but you just haven't said anything. You haven't said anything to your boss and it's been months. You're going to develop anxiety and stress about it. The more you think about standing up to your boss, the more anxiety and stress you're going to have. But what happens when you actually do it? When your behaviors and your knowledge and what you want to do align? Well, you're gonna feel an immediate sense of fulfillment and satisfaction because you actually did what you believe is right to do. So when you close that gap of what you want to do and what you what you should do and what you are doing, I mean, that is when you get fulfillment and happiness. And there are hundreds of examples for this. For example, let's say you want to work out. So I already went into this, but let's say you want to work out and you're really lazy. What's going to happen? You're going to start having a negative self-image, and you're going to get anxiety and depression about your body image. You're going to start looking in the mirror thinking, oh no, what do I look like, right? But if you do work out, this is really crazy. Listen to this. If you do work out, then even if you look the exact same, in the mirror, as long as you're working out and your thoughts and your desires and your actual behaviors of working out, your desire to work out and your behaviors of working out are the same, even if you look the same, you're still going to achieve fulfillment, self-respect, and happiness from your behaviors. Even if you look the exact same, your negative self-body images are going to get reduced and your happiness and fulfillment are going to go up. Even if you look the same, right? And that's just because your behaviors and your beliefs about what your behavior should be are completely aligned. Now, Kelly McGonigal also talks about this in the Willpower Instinct. She compares our future selves with our immediate selves, right, as two different circles. She says our future selves are here as a circle, and our immediate selves are here as a circle. And the larger that gap is, the more anxiety and depression you have. As you close that gap and as they overlap, that's when you start to get more willpower, you start to get more success and happiness and fulfillment, right? So going back to why do we self-sabotage? The truth is, closing that gap is very, very painful and very, very hard to change. Like my friend said, we are afraid of our true capabilities. We have a massive amount of success barriers, because if we are successful, we could lose it all and then go back to the way we were. And there's this whole concept of it's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all. But that's you may think that's unrelated, but think about this. It's not necessarily true. I mean, if you've loved and lost, then you've experienced happiness but pain. If you've never loved at all, then it might be an ignorance is bliss situation and you don't even know what you feel, right? So that's, again, another reason why we have a success barrier, because we know that if we have love, assuming love is the happiness and fulfillment that comes from transformation, then we might lose it and then we might have that pain. Whereas if we just completely ignore it and we self-sabotage and we say, no, I'm going to be lazy, we self-sabotage, then it's almost like ignorance is bliss. But it's not true. Ignorance is not bliss in my personal experience. It can be in some ways, but really in the end of the day, the whole bliss is just anxiety and depression, and what kind of bliss is that? So what kind of actions can you take right now to actually change and stop self-sabotaging? Because we all do. I do. Every human does. It's a normal human behavior. If we didn't have it, we'd be doing crazy things, right? So the first thing is, I think we need to gain an awareness, not just of the issue at hand and why we're self-sabotaging and what we're self-sabotaging, but like a meta-level awareness, right? So understanding self-sabotage in general, so being able to understand the concepts in this video, for example, and then having a full understanding of why you're self-sabotaging, what your success barriers are, and everything related to it, what your behaviors should be, what they are currently, what they could be, and how you're going to change that, an awareness of all of that stuff. The next thing is start with small habits, right? I love mini habits. For example, instead of saying I'm going to run 10 miles, you just say I'm going to buy a pair of running shoes and put them by the door, right? So then you see the running shoes more often and you're going to wear them and you're going to go out for walks, or wear your running shoes throughout your day. And those sorts of mini habits, or going for walks instead of runs, just to get you into the flow, or like going for walks once you started doing that habit, and then doing a little jog for a few seconds, right? So that's part 2. Next one, number 3, is stay consistent. The smaller the habit, the easier it is to stay consistent. If you leave your shoes by the door, staying consistent is literally doing nothing. You're just leaving your shoes by the door. Going out for a walk, it's very easy to stay consistent if you just go out for a very basic walk. But saying I'm going to run 10 miles today, that is a much harder thing to stay consistent with. So you stay consistent, and the smaller the habit, the easier it is to stay consistent. And make the habit a little bit bigger, slowly but surely, when it sets in. For example, your shoes have now found their place by the door. They're there. It's done. They've been there for 2 weeks and there's always there. Now you want to start putting them on and walking around the house with them. Or if that habit starts to set in, you want to go for a little walk. When that habit starts to set in, you want to go for a little jog. When that habit sets in, go for a sprint, right? So start building up the habit slowly. This is how, again, you move your future self and your immediate self, as Kelly McGonigal says, and move them over each other. In the concept of arete, you're improving your excellence of behaviors and actions, right? And you're stopping to self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is when you don't even buy running shoes. You completely ignore it, right? You stay lazy. No, you want to remove self-sabotage so you continue to improve your life. And yes, it's painful, but in the end, you're left with fulfillment and happiness, which I promise you're going to enjoy. The next thing is you have to be able to let go of your old self, right? One of the biggest things about changing your identity and transforming is you have to be willing to let go of old paradigms and let go of your past self, however hard that is, right? However connected you are to that, you have to let go. And this is not something that you could just do. And it's like, okay, fine, I'll let go now. No, It's something that you actively have to work on. You have to do writing. You have to do actions and behaviors. You have to talk to yourself a little better. You have to tell yourself it's okay that I'm letting go. You have to coach yourself into this. It's not just going to happen. It's not going to be easy. But that's one of the behaviors. You have to let yourself go. You have to let your old self go, right? And the final thing that I'll say here is you have to embrace change and non-completion. So what do I mean by that? Embrace change, actually try something different. Do something different every once in a while. That's what part of these small habits and behaviors are. You have to embrace it and don't fight it. Don't think, oh, I have to go for a run now. It's so hard. No, embrace it. I'm able to go for a run now, right? I'm grateful that I can go for a run now. That's the thing, I'm just using the fitness example now. And non-completion is very important because nothing is complete in this world. You can't say, oh, I'm going to change my behavior to be a runner, and then it's done. And now you're a runner, and now your identity is running. No, you have to continue to change. There's no completion. There's no end. And even if you do think you're end, you're going to die one day. And that's going to be the end, right? Really, the end is death. But even then, it doesn't change because if you've left a legacy or if you've inspired other people, that continues, right? So there is no completion. There is no end. You can't get fit. There's no getting fit. There's no finding balance. It doesn't exist. Getting fit is a behavior that is continuous. Balance is an action of falling left or right and finding the balance in the middle. It's balancing. It's never balanced. There is no balance. There is no man standing on a tightrope at perfect balance. He is constantly falling in either direction and then self-correcting in the other direction. So there's no completion, right? It continues forever. It's a constant movement. So embrace this movement, embrace this chaos of continual movement and change, and that is how you can stop your self-sabotage and start to change and achieve arete and excellence and willpower and happiness and self-growth and loving growth and self-development and all the things we're about on this channel. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you to my friend, you know who you are, for asking the question. Very, very powerful question and inspired this video today. So well done. And thank you so much for watching, everyone else, and take care. Have an awesome day. Bye-bye.